Carter, Chris, and I are here for the Florida Squeeze. Very short election night here in Florida, not only because we count quickly, but because with the first batch of votes coming in, we realized it would be maybe even a 20-point victory for Donald Trump in the state. Didn't quite get to that. It ended up being 14 or 15 points. But it was a red tsunami in Florida. And I think Florida is not that much of an outlier. So I think really, I mean, we can watch Pennsylvania and Michigan and these places, but I think Trump is winning everywhere. That's my assessment. When you consider how big a margin he's won by in both Florida and Texas, which are states that are, at this point in time, kind of more representative of the overall population of the United States than most other states. And they're mega states, they're huge states, and they have a really diverse kind of mix of people and different voting banks. So 57-42, I think that's what we're saying it was in Florida. And here are some things that I think are really important. We hear about the Democratic dominance of urban areas, but the Democrats basically only carry two large urban counties in Florida, Broward and Orange. These are the two counties, large counties with over 1 million people they carry. Broward County, the margin for Harris is minus 7 points from the Biden number, which was already reduced from the Clinton number. So it's basically like minus 11 since 2016. That's Broward County, by the way, is Fort Lauderdale. It's one of the most it was one of the most Democratic areas in the entire southeastern United States. Orange County, the margin was reduced by about 2 or 3 points from last time. But this shows more Hispanic bleed, and this much talked about Puerto Rican thing did not come to fruition. Now, let's talk about urban counties in Florida that went for the Republicans. Pinellas, that's the St. Pete area, and the congressional race we thought would be close was not close. Hillsborough, that's Tampa. That's an urban county which now the Republicans have carried 3 times this millennium. Miami-Dade, which had not voted for a Republican for president since 1988, a county with 2.7 million people, went for Donald Trump by 11 points. Majority Hispanic county. And the Republicans won every single contested election in the county. They won every single county commission race outside of African-American areas. They won every single constitutional office. They won every single state house seat, which was outside of an African-American area, including two House seats in districts Joe Biden had carried by about 8 to 10 points last time. And then, of course, Duval County, which still could flip back, but that's Jacksonville. But that's a place that's been trending Democratic over the course of the last 10 years, and that trend abruptly stopped tonight. So when you look at this and you combine it with the heavily Republican exurbs, which actually didn't get that much more Republican in this election than they've been, and the rural areas, which did get slightly more Republican, you not only have a state that's completely out of play for the foreseeable future, but you have national trends, you have national indicators in Florida that indicate the Democrats cannot compete nationally, and that demographic trends are going against the Democrats. And even in urban areas, they're having problems. The managerial class and the administrative class, they might be very much with the Democratic Party, but they're centered in Chicago and New York and DC and Boston and the big cities in California, the Seattle area, and maybe in Dallas. Miami has become much more of kind of like a Bitcoin bro type culture. They're not going to vote for Democrats. I think that's pretty clear. And I think the other thing we're seeing is Republicans really able to cut margins even in Broward and Orange. So as I said, Broward County is a county with 2 million people. It was, in 2012, the most urban Democratic county in the southeastern United States. Today, it gave its worst performance to Democrats in a presidential election since 1988. Orange County, that's Orlando. It's backsliding pretty badly. And quite honestly, there are 3 state House districts that at this point, as we're recording this, the Democrats should have flipped in that area that they're not going to flip. Although in each of those seats, the Democratic candidate is over 48%. We'll see what comes in, but probably not flipping those seats. In fact, losing a seat that they had won in a special election back in January. Hillsborough County, we talked about Andrew Warren and his race to become state attorney again. He's been beat. So in addition to this, we had every constitutional amendment that was critical to the Democrats, 3 and 4, go down. And I think the key thing to note there is that Florida will become the first state that has put abortion on the ballot to not enshrine a woman's right to choose and reproductive freedom in its state constitution. Kentucky did it. Ohio did it. Kansas did it. But Florida didn't. So, really just bad news. And as I said, I think the national election is over. I don't see how Harris can lose by 15 points in Florida, 13 points in Texas, in an era where those 2 states kind of have a composition of the population that's pretty representative of the country, and somehow win the national popular vote and win industrial Midwestern states. I just think it's I mean, I guess it's theoretically possible. I guess it's mathematically possible. I just don't think it's logical. And elections tend to be kind of logical. They don't follow logical patterns. So I think Trump has won the presidency. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of calling it at this point.